play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, Jets.
Hello, Skip Diddy Doo to you too. Hey man, I decided to shave my beard, take my hat off, and I discovered something. I look a lot like Jets Chaos. Who would have thought? So anyway, we're going to get on with the show and start the show. It's kind of weird looking like Jets Chaos, but the show must go on, so here we are. And now you'll just have to look at my ugly mug. I never realized how ugly I was until I shaved and looked like Jets Chaos. No, seriously, everybody. GreenBean is driving. He's in transit, but the show must go on, so we're here. GreenBean will be on soon. He is racing home, and he will be here, but not to fear. Don't be afraid, because I'm not alone. Just because GreenBean can't be here doesn't mean we don't have our good friend, co-host of the show, Gunny Gumby.
Yo, what's up, Chaos? How you living, brother?
What's up, my man? I'll tell you, I'm going to steal something from my old friend Frankie, and that is, on Thursday night, there's no place I'd rather be.
100%. I feel like it's gotten to the point now where it's more of a ritual type of thing, right? You kind of fiend for it, kind of need it in our lives. It's a must. It's a must every Thursday. But without it, I feel empty.
Yeah, it's just part, that's what happens. It just becomes part of the routine. I've been part of this show for, probably a year and a half, we're coming on 2 years probably. And it's just an automatic thing. My wife knows, it's just one of those things. She knows not to schedule anything for Thursday night because, it's a Thursday thick of it. We put priority over this show than we do my own show on my own channel.
It's all about prioritizing. I stopped doing my own show because of this show.
So let's say hello to some people in the chat. We got Dakota.
Yeah.
We got Ryan Jets, Cy Thompson, Jinpak is here, A Fungus Among Us is here, Eric Craig is in the house, Ant Jets 82, what's going on? We got Hank G. We got, man, and they're conversating. They're conversating. Harlan Abraham is here. Good to see you, man. Good to see you, Harlan, here. Ready to go, ready to talk it up on a Thursday night. Mark Reese, the 5th grade school teacher, is here. Rob Grano is here. What's going on? NYJ today in the house. Twisted, of course, is here. And Flight Right is here. And I don't want to miss anybody. John B. in the house. Jet Freshly, Kuka Lake. Everybody's piling in. So, Gunny, here we are 3 days before the Giants. We are going to talk about, this is going to be a Giants preview. We're here to preview the Giant game. What are your initial thoughts? Like, how are you feeling? Is it special to you? Like, compare it to other games, like from when we play New England or Miami. Just in terms of that, where do you put playing the Giants? How does that impact you, knowing it's a crosstown rival?
I mean, not like Swati. Like, I know we only play here like every 4 years. So I think the current standings between us is like 8-6. I think the Giants got us by 2 games. But the Jets are on a 2-game winning streak. I believe that this is going to be a 3-game winning streak come this weekend. I look at this matchup, and it's not like a matchup between in the AFC East, right, where you're within the same division, you play each other twice a year, you know each other. Even though we're crosstown rivals, we share a facility. These teams don't really know each other that well. I think the coaching staff has some familiarity with each other because Dable used to be the OC for the Buffalo Bills. But other than that, man, you look at that roster, and it's a roster, I think, derived of talent. I think after Saquon Barkley, Tyrod Taylor, there's not a lot of guys you look at and you're terrified of that team. I think Tyrod, believe it or not, is probably more worrisome for us to play than if we were to play Daniel Jones. So I'm looking at this with a lot of confidence. I know historically the Jets haven't had the best track record after a bye week, which is something I think we need to go ahead and continue to break the mold of. I mean, we've never beaten the Eagles as well before this season. So I see us coming out strong, and I got to admit, man, I see us getting a W here against the Giants, a team that, frankly, is just not very good. But as they say, any given Sunday, and if these Jets don't show up to actually play, they can be beaten. So hopefully our boys show up to play, which I believe they will. And the Jets go ahead and we kick it off at 4-3 going into the following week.
Yeah, these, it's funny the way I look at these games, and it doesn't really matter to me that much. Maybe the two of us, we're not as impacted because we don't live in New York. We don't live in New Jersey right now.
Right.
We're not hearing the smack talk. We're not walking around and seeing and interacting with Giant fans all the time. And for me, it's just another team now at this point. I'm 2,600 miles away. I really don't care. I have some friends that are Giant fans, but nothing where, it's nothing compared to New England fans or Miami fans or something like that.
Exactly.
So I got to tell you, for me, the pressure comes more. It's always more pressure when you're expected to win. And this, to me, in my opinion, is a game. Oh, look who it is.
Look who it is.
More pressure when you're.
What's up, GreenBean?
You got to turn down your volume, sir.
I am. I'm working on it. I'm just listening. I just want to let everybody know I'm on my way.
Yeah, he's on his way.
I'm coming.
Look at that.
I'm listening. I'm here. I can't.
Man, it's like complete darkness around him.
I'm on the I'm on 295, brother.
Wow. Okay. All right.
I got another. How long do I got here? I got 43 minutes.
Oh, so you're past Delaware. You're way into
no, I'm in Virginia,
past DC. Huh?
No, I'm in like I'm in the Richmond area. I'm almost home. I got 43 minutes.
You can smell. All right. So GreenBean can smell the tobacco. He's in Richmond.
That's right.
Where all the tobacco for all the cigarettes.
All right. Well, I'll sign off. I'm listening. I'm here, everybody. I'll be there in just a little while. I'm listening to these.
All right. See you soon, brother.
We'll have a good time.
We'll hold it down for you.
All right, guys. See you.
So what I was getting at, Gunny, is I get more emotional and more intense when it's a game against a team I expect to beat. Like that's when we're losing to a team that I expect to beat, that's when I'm at my worst. That's when I'm at my most negative. When we're playing Philadelphia, Kansas City, and we were falling behind, I was just like, well, we're trying.
It's Kansas City. It's the Eagles, right?
Do you feel that way too? Do you get more frustrated?
Yeah.
Denver, that first half against Denver, were you really frustrated?
I was upset. I was agitated because it breaks down to this, right? Like if you want to be a good team, you've got to beat up on the teams you're supposed to beat up on, right? Great teams find ways to go ahead and beat teams that are on the same playing field as them. But if you're going to be considered even a good team, you got to beat up on the people you're supposed to beat up on. And to see the Denver game, man, I was like, you've got to be freaking kidding me, dog. Like, I really thought we were going to go ahead and put that one in the stands and catch an L. I'm glad we got our heads out of our butts and figured it out. But I'm with you, man. I think when it comes to, like, the Kansas City Chiefs game, I enjoyed that whole game from beginning to end. I was surprised we were in it. I thought we did some good things. And in the end, it took, a little bit of the refs to assist for us to lose that game. I was okay with that because it's the Chiefs. They were literally the Super Bowl champions. Like, to be in that game, that conversation was in itself very surprising, and I enjoyed the game. Same with the Eagles. Started off bad, and I was like, well, it's the freaking Eagles. Like, they weren't going to be bad all season. They weren't going to go ahead and play slow all season. To win that game was, wow. To me, it had more of an impact than to say beating the Denver because you don't expect it, right? I had the Jets going 4-2 with Aaron Rodgers going into the season. Our two losses were Kansas City and the Eagles. We wind up beating the Eagles. We go 3-3. Like, it's hard to be mad at that. Like, it's really hard to be mad at that. But I'm with you. For me, the games that we're supposed to beat, the teams we're supposed to beat, and we lose to those ones, or we're losing, but I lose my mind watching those games.
Yeah. There's nothing more frustrating than knowing you have the better team, and that's and there's no excuse because you're thinking to yourself, it's like almost like a reality check. This is who we really are.
Yep.
Like it's like being back brought back to reality.
Yep.
We're a team that could barely beat Denver. Like if we're losing to the Giants, we're a team that can't just beat the Giants.
Bruh.
That's how it would feel to me. That's how it would feel to me.
It is. God, man, if we lose to the Giants, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to literally lose my freaking mind. Because, one, we got to go ahead and change the narrative, right? Like, we are bad after buys. We also tend to struggle in games that we're considered to be the favorites. We're the favorites in this game, and it's after a bye. Two things I really despise. I hate it with a passion. I feel like these guys, I don't know if they get into their own heads or they just, oh, okay, boom, everybody knows we're going to win this. Like, I don't know if it lets them work harder or put their I don't know, man. It's full attack mode. I don't care who you're playing week in, week out. You should go into every single game as if you're trying to rip people's heads off. And we are much better than the Giants in terms of talent, like across the board. There isn't a single starter, I think, on the Giants that I would have ahead of our own stars, to include Saquon Barkley. He'd be behind Breece Hall and me. So there's no reason we should go into this game. And it shouldn't be close. Like, really, it really shouldn't be close if we're being honest. I think our defense is lights out. The team scored for the first time in the first half all season this past week. They're averaging 13.4 points a game, dead last in the NFL, right? Like, I'm sorry, man, but if we don't come out smacking these dudes around, I'm probably going to lose my mind on Sunday. I can see it happening.
Yeah, the only thing that concerns me about them, and it's not even Saquon Barkley, because I think, when it's not mixed in with a lot of weapons, I'm not worried about their passing game so much, and I know that we're going to terrorize Tyrod Taylor, I'm not as worried about Saquon. I mean, obviously, he's the one guy we have to come in and be very focused on, right? I mean, dangerous player and all that. But the one thing, I don't know about you, but I'd almost rather play against Danny Dimes than I would against Tyrod Taylor. Because if you
100%.
watch the Giants, if you watch the Giants,
100%.
Taylor could move around. He could hurt us with his feet, whereas Danny just sits there waiting for you to strip the ball. I mean, it would have been beautiful.
He's asking to be sacked.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones is begging to be sacked every time he's out there. I love it. I hope he plays. I hope he's okay to play. I know he practiced a little bit today, no contact. But, man, I'm with you, brother. I would prefer it be the $40 million quarterback, Daniel Jones, that we play against. Because, one, you're not going to sit there and demean the beating after we give it to him. That's a $40 million quarterback, all right? You know what I'm saying? This guy made the playoffs last year. I'm going to make it known once we destroy them that those are his statistics. That's his stats. But Tyrod Taylor scares me. I think Tyrod Taylor being able to move around, get the ball out of his hands quickly, he worries me significantly more than Daniel Jones. I'm really hoping Daniel Jones suits up for us on Sunday. Yeah,
it would be great. It would be great. I hope he does too. I'm glad I'm not alone in that. And what's amazing is you got a journeyman kind of quarterback in Tyrod Taylor, and we're sitting here saying we'd rather see their $40 million a year quarterback play
than him.
And we're not talking about 3 years after they signed the contract, Gunny.
No.
Just
the very next year, bro.
That's probably, if I was a Giant fan, that would probably be what I'm the most angry about. Like I'd be so pissed. We just gave this kid a $40 million. Now they did do it where they're only tied in for this and next season, so they're not as bad off as teams like Arizona, Denver, Cleveland, that are stuck into these quarterbacks that are underperforming, and they're stuck until 2027.
Yeah,
which is pretty brutal.
It's crazy though, right? Because if I'm a Giants fan, bro, and you saw the product in the field last week, you saw the week before, you know what I'm saying? Like, he gave them a chance to win that game against was it Kansas? No, against the Bills, right? You're sitting here and you're like, damn, we're moving the ball. Like, if I'm a Giants fan, I'm livid, bro. I'm livid. We just paid this bum $40 million a year for the next 3 years. And behind the same exact offensive line with the same exact weapons, Tyrod Taylor's playing circles around him in back-to-back games, right? Like, if it was me, I'd be livid. I'd be pissed. But, hey, here we are. I mean, like, you know what? What's crazy about it is, like you said, I don't really care about the Giants. But I started caring once they started running their mouth in the preseason, right? In the preseason, I think when that one dude talked about he didn't know who Aaron Rodgers was, and they got all hyped because Hyatt got an incomplete pass thrown his way because he got behind Sauce Gardner in the preseason. Bro, because of those two incidences, I put them on the hit list for this season. Like, I put them on the hit list. I was like, all right, well, now we got to murder you. Before, we just got to beat you guys, move on. It's no big deal. Now I would like us to run the score up. And again, we're the Jets. I don't know if running the score up is something we can do. But if we were going to do it this season against anybody, I'd like to see it against the Giants because, again, like you said, it's an NFC team. I don't really consider them a problem or a threat. We're not going to see them in the Super Bowl or anything like that. So go ahead, smack them around a little bit, just for the hell of it. You know what I'm saying? That bull crap with the dude. I don't even know who you are. And then the hype from the fan base because Hyatt didn't catch a pass off of a double move because he got behind Sauce Gardner. I've never seen such mediocrity celebrated. So because of that, I want us to run the ball up, but not because I really care about the Giants. I could care less about them, but because of that aspect, I would like to see them get the score ran up on them.
Yeah, anytime someone's gonna pop off and everything like that, you want to respond by kicking their butt. You know, like
Facts.
Denver, it was nice to beat Sean Payton and beating Denver. But I'm gonna be honest with you, I wanted to pound them. Like, it wasn't enough for me.
Yeah,
it wasn't enough. I wanted to pound them a lot worse than we did.
I wanted it to be bad.
But just to answer Fungus, it's I believe Daniel Jones' contract was $120 million, $40 million a year, 3 years, 2 years guarantee, so they can. Or maybe a little bit more than 2 years guarantee. But the bottom line is they can get out of that contract after next season. But they're paying him a lot of money, $40 million. If you look at his numbers for a guy who threw 23 touchdowns and 7 I mean, the numbers just
I don't get it.
Didn't seem to justify.
I don't get it, man. I don't.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. And as much as they're buddies, you'd have to think Saquon Barkley, you know, who was tagged and didn't get his contract until later, you know, at the time, he had to be kind of mad and upset that, you know, we're not gonna value you, even though you're like a top running back in the NFL, but we're gonna turn around and give your very average quarterback $40 million top five money.
Man, I would have lost my. Again,
Yeah.
I don't understand what's going on. If the Jets should sweep the floor with these guys, man, like. Man, this storm is getting ridiculous. The Jets should sweep sweep the floor with these guys. It's going to be very, very frustrating if they don't. Like, I'm going to be really upset about it if they don't.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. It's, you know, so like we were saying, it's, I think I'm thinking of questions like when I think about that game and we talked about like Tyrod Taylor's better on his feet. It's more of a threat that way. I think like the Russell Wilson, you know, back to that Denver game again, because I mean, it's such a close comparison kind of game, right? A game that we should win. We have no excuse to lose. So do you think, because remember, if you remember that game, it took until the second half for us to finally start putting a spy on Russell Wilson, right? And I think everybody remembers the Banks hit. I think Banks was the first to hit him when he tried to run in the second half, and kind of we set that new rule of saying, no, you're not going to do that anymore. We're ready for you this half. Do we do that from the start of the game? Would you, if you were Brick, would you scheme right from the start? Do you put a spy on Taylor? Is he that much of a threat that we should literally put a spy on him, especially considering, you know, assuming Reed and Sauce play and we have those, you know, very talented cornerbacks anyway?
100%, man. I really don't see a wide receiver threat that is going to require, you know what I'm saying, bracketing coverage, double coverage. Like, I think we can go one-on-one with their guys and be just fine. Put the spy on Taylor. Put the spy on Jones, if it's Jones or Taylor. I think Jones is actually only real threat is his legs. I don't think his arm is scary. I think his legs are scary. You've seen him do some damage with his legs, but he's also very prone to fumbling the ball when you hit him, which is one reason why I was hoping he's going to be the quarterback we play against. But I think that makes perfect sense. Like, why not? Like, your defense is going to be able to go ahead and go toe-to-toe with these guys and their offensive weapons, even if we don't have Sauce and even if we don't have DJ Reed. You've seen the guys the last couple of weeks literally elevate their game to levels I didn't think were possible. Bryce Hall looking like, you know, he's making everybody eat their words in regards to what he could be. So I'm okay with that being the case, man. Let's go ahead and put a spy on whether it's Tyrod or Daniel. let's not give them anything. I want them to be demoralized. Let's demoralize them early so they can go ahead and play with their backs against the wall, which allows our defense to just feast and go at full 100 to get to them. I don't understand why we even do this thing where we start off slow, knowing, like what you and I are talking about right now, we know that's what they should do. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. They're going to start off the way they always do, and they'll make adjustments if need be. Just attack them from jump. I just wish we would just do that. Go into full attack mode, vice being reactive.
And when you think of Bryce Huff's speed, and I see in the chat somebody mentioned Evan Neal and how he has struggled with speed, and you think of Bryce Huff, JJ, I'm thinking maybe definitely this is a game where we want to see Will McDonald activated. I think the way to go after this guy is speed.
Fact.
Because
100% facts.
I mean, Dallas was just running right past them. I mean, they must have. It felt like Jones got sacked like 11 times. So I imagine that they're going to try to get Saquon active very early. They're going to try to do quick screens to him. They're going to try to do quick pitches to him. They're going to be very afraid to drop back into, and like just drop back and try to pass against us in the pocket. But I think we talk about it all the time. And, like it's not just like when we get into the red zone, we need to score touchdowns. These are the reasons why. Because if we could just get a lead, even if it's 13 points, right, and put the Giants in a position where they can't play. Yeah, they have to. Yep. They have to throw. They have to go downfield. They can't chip away because of the clock because we're ahead of them. Think of how we haven't even. I don't even think we've begun to see how dominant this defensive line could be because we haven't had the lead.
Nope, we have not. We have not seen what these guys are truly capable of, and I don't think we're going to be able to until this offense can put some points up on the board early. Allowing it, because look what happened. What game was that? It wasn't the Broncos. Was it? It was the Broncos game, wasn't it? When they got the lead, it was against the Broncos. You saw the defense was like, finally, right, pin their ears back and just go, right? Made Russell Wilson very, very uncomfortable, running for his life. We have not seen enough of that, and until we start taking more leads, we're not going to see that because this defense has to play, the pass and the rush or the run. If you force a team to have to throw the ball, man, there's no way. There's not enough offensive linemen that can stop all these guys. If you're taking away one of your tight ends like a Darren Waller and having to go ahead and stay back to block or trying to chip somebody, you're throwing off the timing of some of these plays. Like, we've not seen the full ability of this defense, and the reason being is because we have not played enough with the lead. This is why I think the Aaron Rodgers effect would have really allowed these guys to be teetering in that 85 Bears territory they were talking about, because then they could play more physical, they can play more violent, more fast. They don't have to think, oh, we're up freaking 2 scores, go get the quarterback. They don't have to think, go get the quarterback. I think once we get to that point where we can start seeing some leads, man, this defense is going to be even more fun for us to watch.
All right, and then we got. Thank you for the super chat.
Man, appreciate you, Thompson.
We appreciate that super chat. Question for Gunny. This is you, man. What is your worst fear of this game on Sunday, and do we change the bye week jinx?
So my biggest fear for this week is that, well, there's 2 parts really, if I'm being honest with you, is that we got to face off against Tyrod Taylor, and Darren Waller is healthy as well, right? I think those 2 individuals healthy can be a problem for the middle of the field. Darren Waller is still a freak athlete. I know you haven't seen him really step it up in terms of play because of Daniel Jones, but we've seen him with Tyrod Taylor for 2 weeks now, and he looks like the Darren Waller we all thought they were getting, right? The dude is a baller. So my biggest fear of this game on Sunday is the Tyrod Taylor to Darren Waller connection. We got to find a way to go ahead and shut that down early and fast. That's my biggest fear. Now, do we change the bye week jinx? I do believe this is the week where we change the bye week jinx. I think we saw us being able to come back and beat the Philadelphia Eagles in a way that we did, put us in a situation that the whole concept of, we can't beat teams because we're jinxed or because of the curse or whatever. Look, we were 0-12. Now we're 1-12. You know what I'm saying? I think that started a shift in the thought process, and not only for us as fans, but I think in their mindset as a team. So I don't believe they come out stagnant. I don't believe they come out dry. I think, if anything, I think they're going to come out swinging. I actually think they're going to come out in this particular week. You're going to see them swinging big. You're going to see Zach Wilson letting the ball rip. I think they're going to go ahead and do some creative stuff in the red zone to go ahead and punch the ball in. You've had 2 weeks to do it now. You know that's what's slowing down your freaking offense. You've talked about it in numerous press conferences. So if you come out here looking lame or looking the same, like, it's going to have a lot of people questioning what kind of coaching is happening. So I think you're going to see a different Zach Wilson on Sunday when that's kind of slinging it, and you're going to see some touchdowns in the gold zone.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, that's how I'm reading through between the lines with what their coaches are saying in the press conferences. I think that they're realizing we're not going to be able to maintain this way. And, like, you know, he's inched his way and played better than he has. And I think it's like time to take that next step and just let him just completely be a quarterback. And that includes opening up the red zone. It's time to open it up and allow us to get the ball into the end zone. We have the weapons. The weapons are there. You know, and it's time. It's time. We start putting up points. Boy, I really want to see a Jets team that has a lead. And we've seen little glimpses of it, right? We saw it against Denver. We saw that little glimpse against Denver. For that little moment, that minute against Philadelphia, we got the interception. Last year when we put the 40-burger against Miami. When we get up on a team, we have had great experiences. Like, we've watched ourselves
Good luck
roll.
to that offense.
and it's amazing how little of a sample there is of that situation over the last few years of how few times we've actually just been a team that's up by 10 points, 14 points, 13 points, just had almost like a 2 touchdown lead in the third quarter to see what that looks like. And obviously Aaron Rodgers was going to be the answer to that, and we're finally going to believe we were going to have the offense that could do it. I still think that we could have an offense. It might not be as effective or as efficient when Aaron Rodgers was, if he was playing. But when you look at our schedule, the first 6 games, and then you look at the next 3 or 4 games, don't you think that might, and it's fine if it's easier competition because it helps build confidence. Do you think that's going to be a factor as well? Like, that we'll get the ball in the end zone just because simply we're not playing championship level teams? I think I think Gunny is frozen, and I have to add a caption to this frozen Gunny. Right now, he's looking out into the stars and saying, "Is that the Milky Way out there I see?" Gunny's frozen, so we'll go on to look at some chats. Just see if anybody gave their opinion of what they're thinking about this and our offense. Okay, so we see that. Jason Edgeworth says JJ and Huff will go. Okay. So yeah, they're going to go off on this game for sure. I have no doubt that they'll go off on this game. Kuka Lake comes in, says, "Look how good this team has become. So where Lawson, Cook, and Hardman are expendable. Shows the growth of this team." Yeah, I mean, we were starting guys named Tyreek Black at the end of the 21 season, right? And a lot of us were like, who is this guy? And it's something we talked about in the beginning of the year in camp when Lawson got Lawson got injured in 21 when we signed him. It was like the biggest punch to our gut in the world, right? We were all devastated. That was it. That was our season. And then in the beginning of this camp, when he was having back problems, it was like not a big deal. Nobody talked. We said, "Oh, hopefully he gets healthy and he could play." But that's how much better our team has gotten. That our defensive line is that deep that we weren't even sweating it. We weren't even worried about it. Now, I think the point you're making about Hardman and Cook, I think that we're kind of torn in that, right? I think like a lot of us say, well, we didn't need Hardman. Xavier Gibson beat him out for the job. I trust the coaching staff, and that's all fine and good. And then there's a lot of people who are pissed off, right, and think we made a big mistake letting Hardman, and that we really shouldn't have and couldn't have given away Hardman. And I think most of the Jets fan base would agree that if Dalvin Cook was gone, I don't think that anybody would cry. I don't think anybody would cry over that. Although I will say he looked better in the Philly game. He is getting faster each week. And, he's good depth. He's good injury insurance. The only negative that might come with Dalvin Cook right now, I mean, obviously when he takes carries away from Breece Hall, because we all want to see Breece Hall out there as much as possible. But the other complaint could be is that we're not seeing Israel. We're not seeing Izzy because of Dalvin Cook. And a lot of people would like to see that kid and see what he got. So it'll be interesting to track that story. A little later when GreenBean gets here, I know that Finnegan got us some links about some of the things that Cook was saying. I don't know how the team's going to respond to it. I mean, he didn't say he was specifically looking to be traded, but he did say he was frustrated. And one could just wonder, is he going to end up getting traded as well? And if he does that mean we get to see the young rookie come in and be, and play? It's very possible that he would actually get some carries if they went that direction, because they do like to use 3 running backs, or the team has. They like to go with 3 backs. Micah Carter's been like a third down back, but Breece Hall, when he goes on one of those 50, 60-yard runs, what we've learned was just like any other running back who goes on a 60-yard run, they kind of got to come out to the sideline and take a breather, and you need somebody to come in. Or just if we're driving down the field and we use them, we run Hall 6-7 plays out of 10 plays. Sometimes you just have to have a guy come in and spell them. And a lot of people would like to see it be the rookie who comes in and does that. So we'll see if Cook gets traded. That would definitely be a possibility of something we might see. No one, looking back at it, I would say hindsight, it's much easier to say, why did we sign Cook? We didn't need him. But remember at that time, I don't know if they were 100% sure that Breece Hall was going to come back the way he came back, right? Because everything is in steps and phases. So who knows? Maybe, they didn't have that as a guarantee. And if Hall wasn't ready and had some setbacks, they wanted to have a veteran proven running back, and it's a little weird that they got a guy who was coming off of injury that we're waiting to get back into full speed. Because it's like, yeah, but by the time he's back at full speed, Breece Hall is back at full speed, and we're not interested. Because to me, that's the biggest problem I have with Cook is every time he carries that ball or he's in that game, Breece Hall is not in that game, and we are not as good a football team. Because there's very few players on our team, maybe Garrett will like that impact the level of our team when they are on or off the field. There's, it's only a few guys that really make you feel that way, right? Like there's Quinnen Williams. When Q takes a break, if he's off the field, we don't feel like we're as good a team. Well, when Breece Hall, I don't know about you guys, but when Breece Hall's not on that field and I see 33 line back there, we are not as strong enough as an offense. We're just clearly not as strong. We're not as scary. We're not as threatening. So hopefully we'll see. We'll at least get to see more Breece Hall, as the season goes on. That will continue. It looks like we have a question, but before, let me bring back. It looks like Gumby got his power back. I think he's experiencing some thunderstorms down in Houston. What's up, buddy? How you doing,
bro? Yeah, it's getting bad. We're in storm season down here in Houston, bro. Like the power went out at the office earlier today, so they had us all come home to work from home. And it went out a couple of times earlier, but now it's just getting ridiculous. But I'm back. I'm good.
Yeah. So, Infrared's asking me how I feel about JD removing Quan Alexander from J. It's interesting because I remember when everybody was very, very, there was an urgency. We have to sign Quan Alexander. We have to sign him.
Right.
I will admit, I was not, the reason I wasn't going crazy that we had to sign Quan Alexander was not because I knew that Quincy Williams was going to suddenly become a beast. The reason that I wasn't as concerned was because I'm a very big Jamie and Sherwood fan.
Yeah.
And I felt that this was Jamie and Sherwood's opportunity, and that's why we didn't need Quan Alexander. Now, I would have liked it if we signed him.
Yeah.
Because depth is depth is depth. But
100%.
But it's a good point though. Like it's definitely JD made the right decision. Like as far as putting his money on moving on and
On
putting
Quincy.
the money, onto, betting on Quincy, and because I'm very happy with our linebacker room right now.
I'm ecstatic about our linebacker room, but I'll be honest with you, I did not see Quincy playing like this. I did not. I really thought that it was going to be Jamie and Sherwood season like you did. I was like, okay, you know what? If they're feeling this comfortable about not bringing in Quan, and Quan was doing everything he could to try to stay on the team, man. He literally was working out in Jets gear, telling people on Twitter he's ready to be a Jet, like everything. So to me, I knew that I thought Jamie Sherwood was the guy, that they were very comfortable in Jamie, that he was going to be the dude. And for it to be Quincy that's playing like this, bro, I never saw this coming. And then this is why none of us are GMs. This is why none of us are GMs. This is why we can give our opinions and whatnot and talk about how we think it should go. But in terms of evaluating talent, JD nailed that one on the head because Quincy is playing lights out right now.
Yeah, I agree. And what's funny is the one person that did see it was Quincy Williams, because last year he said I could be an All-Pro. He said it. He goes, I could feel it. I could be an All-Pro. Salah believed in him.
I laughed when he said it, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, our coaching staff believed in him. But it goes back to something that Salah said about Sherwood early on, and everybody laughed at him and thought it was ridiculous when he started talking about Warner and then started talking about converting Sherwood to a linebacker. If he puts on a few pounds, I think that we need to start. If there's one thing that we should trust Robert Saleh for, is when he's excited about defensive players and believes, and he's telling us they're great athletes, they're learning, they're getting better every day. I think he's earned. Yeah, I think he's earned that. When you go back to his career, all the way from Seattle to Jacksonville to San Francisco, I think he's earned our trust, that he knows a lot more than any of us, and we should just trust him.
Yep. And in all actuality, I made it a point to where I refuse to question any moves they make on defense. Like when it comes to personnel, this is the team that went from the 31st worst defense in the league to a top 3 units in one season. I realized real quick, you know what? They got that part figured out. I'm gonna leave that one alone. I'll focus more so and be angry about the offensive component, because the defensive component, they've proven to us like they kind of have an eye for this and kind of have an idea of what they're doing. I mean, hell, we lost Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed against the Eagles, and our secondary held up. I mean, they weren't shut down, but they held up against 2 elite wide receivers in Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. Like, yeah, I mean, we got to trust these guys at the very least when it comes to the defensive side.
Yeah, no, I agree. Austin, so GreenBean is in transit. He will be on the show, on the stream fairly soon. It's been, I would say, almost a half an hour. So what? I think he's got about 15, 20 minutes
another
left.
15, 20 minutes? Yep.
Yeah, another 15, 20 minutes. We'll have GreenBean back on the show, probably right around when we have our special guest, our Patreon member. We have a Patreon member coming on to the show. As you know, anybody who's a GreenBean Patreon member, if you're the highest level, it's $25 a month with all these great little benefits and perks that you get. One of the main perks that you get when you're a $25 a month Patreon is every so often you get to come on the show as a special guest. And today we'll have one of our Patreon members on the show and join everybody as a special guest. So stay tuned for that. He'll be here at about 9 p.m. Eastern. Okay. So it's going to be a race. We'll see who gets here first.
See who gets here first.
And everybody, remember to give some love to Finnegan. Finnegan's flight crew. Finnegan is in the back.
Doing his thing.
Putting together links for GreenBean when he gets here, doing all that good stuff. If we have any questions or whatever. So just remember, he might not be in front of you. You might not be listening to him talk, but he makes a big contribution to the show. Let's see. Let's move on. Let's see. Most were expecting Sherwood to come on. Yeah, are you disappointed in Sherwood? Should we be worried about him? Were they wrong about him?
I'm starting to wonder maybe they were, or is it because Quincy has emerged to be literally an all-pro caliber linebacker, right? Like it's I don't know if it's one or the other or if it's just both. But I'm a little upset, man. I really thought like we were. Yeah, I was. I was expecting. You and I both talked about this. We were expecting Sherwood. This was going to be his blowout year. He was going to go ahead and prove why that conversion took a little while to become a linebacker, but he had figured it out. And we really haven't had a chance to see him enough for us to know if it's maybe he's not figuring it out, or maybe he is figuring it out, but Quincy's just playing lights out football. So why he can be in a reserve, right? So a lot of question marks as to why we're not seeing him, but I'm not mad having Quincy Williams out there balling the way he is right now. So if it ain't broken, you don't need to fix it. Right now, our linebacker core is playing lights out. We've got 2 top 10 linebackers on our roster in Quincy and in freaking CJ in terms of efficiency and statistics for the season. I don't think we need to go ahead and mess with that component. So maybe Sherwood's season to be whenever freaking CJ decides to retire, then he can be on the other side of Quincy.
And he does play less percentage of the snaps and the reps. We know that the Jets like to go 2-5, right? And because we do have Michael Carter, so obviously you're going to see 2 cornerbacks of Michael Carter, and then you're going to see our 2 safeties, and that's going to leave a little less. We get 4 linemen. There's only so many guys you're allowed to have on the field, 11. So, when you see Michael Carter, the second lined up in the field, you're probably, obviously not going to see Sherwood out there.
No.
And I don't think he's necessarily done anything wrong. Like, I haven't seen any film or any evidence that he's hurt us, like when he is out there in running situations. It's not like he's specifically missing tackles or a weakness in the team. I just don't think that he's been able to stand out, like you said, because he plays less snaps and Quincy Williams has been lights out. And obviously Mosley's the quarterback of the defense. So he's in, pretty much every play. So there's not a lot of room for Sherwood, but at the same, I'm only not worried in the sense that I haven't specifically heard his name called for a negative.
That's the thing, right? It hasn't been like, oh, he's not figuring out the playbook or he's missing. No, it hasn't been anything. It's just Quincy has legitimately freaking balled.
Yeah. So what is Paul saying? I don't think they had the right players for the defense before. Well, definitely not. I mean, if you think about it, like we talked about this too, JD stripped the team, right? When, as soon as Gase was gone, that's to me when it all started. We traded Jamal Adams, brought in some good draft capital, and basically stripped the team. And the only people that were really left on the team was Breece Hall. I'm sorry, not Breece Hall, Bryce Hall. Bryce Hall was on the team. Quinnen Williams. The safety. What's his face? What's his name? You guys know the safety. I'm forgetting his name right now, that we were crying over. We're screaming over this safety about extending him and how crazy it was that we weren't going to extend him. And now I can't even remember his name. Okay. And then we had Becton. I see that. Yes, we had Becton. These were the guys we had. Then look over the next couple of years. The next couple of years, Becton missed. Gunny's in a storm, guys. So that's where he keeps on going. Thanks, man. It's Marcus May. So we had Marcus May, Quinnen Williams, Becton. We had a handful of players. Mims, right? So Mims didn't work out of the guys that we kept, right? Bryce Hall came through for that 1 year. He was a decent starter. Now he's a great depth piece, right? So that was good. Okay, so he was a solid guy. Becton missed 2 years. Right, Mims never panned out. Marcus May tore his Achilles and then was gone anyway. So really, we built the team from nothing, like literally built this team from scratch in the course of 2 years. And I think that part of the strategy, part of what we were frustrated about, and the reason the coaches said we have a plan, everybody calm down. Even Salah had to meet with Rex Ryan and calm him down. Was we are not building the defense. We're not a cook in the kitchen. We're not taking the ingredients and making the best defense. That's not what we're doing. We are here for a long-term plan. And that long-term plan and that vision to turn the Jets into a winning team was, my name is Robert Saleh, and I have a scheme that works, that I believe in, that I know works. Did it over in San Francisco. It works. And I'm going to work with Joe Douglas. He's going to find me the players, and we're going to develop these players in this scheme. And that's exactly what we've seen. So first year, maybe they have a few of those players, right? They have 2, 3, barely any of them. Then the next year, boom, Reed, Gardner, Huff is now developing, right? They got him. They signed JFM. Carl Lawson is now back from injury, right? So that's starting to take hold. Clemens, I mean, they start getting their guys in. Mosley now knows the system. They're developing Sherwood, who's back. Well, actually, yeah, last year he was back, right? And then they brought in Quincy, who had been getting better since we picked him up off the garbage heap. He was getting better and better and better and better. So you see how they started finding the players and fitting them into that scheme. So it's a scheme defense. And we're finding players that fit into the scheme. We are not adjusting the scheme for the players. And that's a big difference. So, and we're seeing it. We're seeing the results of it. And this is why, and we, GreenBean, I know, has talked about it on this channel many times. This is the advantage. A lot of those winning teams, when you talk about Buffalo and their defense year after year, when you talk about Baltimore, when you talk about Pittsburgh, when you talk about those teams, one of the things to note about those teams are continuity. And it's having these systems year after year after year. And the famous 3 words, next guy up. Because you're just developing young players to be the next guy up, to step into a system. It's a machine. And that's what we are right now, right? And it's, to me, the most impressive thing is how fast we built it. I didn't know that we could build it that fast because we were nothing in 21. Like, we were stripped down to in the beginning of that season to nothing. And through a draft, a couple of free agent signings, then the next year, big time draft, some more free agent signings. Here we are now with a roster that it's stacked. It's stacked with stars. So it's mind-boggling. And did he make mistakes all along the way? Yes, he did. JD made mistakes along the way, just like every GM in the NFL. We could do a study. I might even do that. We could do a study on any NFL team and look at the GM and all the moves they've made in the last 5 years or 4 years, however many years you want to do it. And I promise you, every single GM on every single NFL team will have moves that make you say, what were you thinking? Every single one of them. So instead of looking at the negative and looking at the mistakes, I choose to look at the final product. Let's look at our roster from 2021, and let's look at our roster now. Did the GM do a good job? And that's what it is. And, and now we have to see it on the field, though, because I know that's the next thing to come. But Jeremy, look at their record. Okay, you're right. We need to see it on the field. We need to see them start getting wins. And I think we're starting to see that. I think we have a great opportunity right now. And after losing our starting quarterback with a backup quarterback, if we could win 10, 11 games, sneak into the playoffs, that's great progress. And I think everybody will be happy and be able to live with that. Wild Wave says, but yet people are saying fire JD. Yeah, I mean, that's just frustration, right? That's just anger and frustration, and I need to take it out on somebody. And it's not coming from a place of like real thought, right? And like, because no one could give and what is it like when people give their reason? No one could give a real reason why they should fire JD. The reasons when someone says, "Oh, because Zach Wilson," well, you're gonna fire every general manager that's ever selected a quarterback that hasn't panned out, because the majority of quarterbacks that are taken in the draft, the top 5 of the draft, the top 10, you can look at it from any angle, from any number, whether it's the top 10 picks, the top 5 picks, the majority don't work out. In my experience, the majority don't work out. I mean, anybody who's been watching in the NFL long enough, I would imagine agrees with that. That it's hard to find a quarterback. That's why there's so few. If every year the quarterbacks that went in the top 10 were working out, we would have a lot of elite quarterbacks. Right now, we're thin. We're not even what we were 5 or 6 years ago. Think about it. There's Patrick Mahomes and then who? Josh Allen, right? Oh, but Josh Allen can't win a big game. He's choking against any good team. He can't play us. He hits a wall when he hits any good defense. Now, Jalen Hurts, I like Jalen Hurts a lot, but people are starting to argue that when he plays a good defense, he's not great. Look, he's very good. Is he elite, though? Because when I say elite is, right now, there is Patrick Mahomes, and who is there that's elite? Justin Herbert hasn't gotten better since his rookie year. Has he? Look at the numbers. Burrows, he's worse. He took a huge drop down. Where's the elite quarterbacks in the NFL? Now, if we go back not too long, there's Drew Brees, there's Tom Brady, there's Peyton Manning. I mean, we've had multiple great quarterbacks in the NFL at the same time. And we're not seeing as much of that right now. Right now, we're in a trend where really there's only the one guy. There's Patrick Mahomes. There's other good guys. We thought Josh Allen was going to be that guy, but let's be honest. The Bills fans are still arguing right now that he's an elite guy. We can't put Josh Allen's name up there with elite quarterbacks when we talk about guys like Peyton Manning and Drew Brees and Tom Brady. We can't do it. Only Mahomes. So what does that say about every GM? Knowing that they're constantly picking quarterbacks in the top 10, top 5 every year. No one's saying fire the GM of San Francisco. What is it, Lynch? No one's saying to fire him. He traded 3 number 1 picks. He used 3 number 1 picks. One of them a 3rd pick in the draft to get Trey Lance, who he just traded for what, a 5th rounder, 4th rounder? But no one's firing him because look at the roster. Look at the 49ers. Of course you're not going to fire him. You got to be crazy. It's the same thing. It's the same thing when we talk about, like people talk about firing JD. It's nuts. It's nuts. We have a great roster. We have to turn it into wins. If they can't turn it into wins, then you're going to look at the coach. That's the next thing you would have to look at if we can't get wins, if we can't turn it around. But we all have eyes. We could all see the quality of players. You can't blame the GM. If you look at the roster from 2021 to 2023, how do you fire her? He's the hottest GM in football, aside from the Eagles. So I don't get it. I don't know why people would attack JD. He is not the right guy to be mad at if you're mad right now as a Jets fan. But I'd also challenge everyone to say, if you're mad right now as a Jet fan, if you're overall feeling angry about the Jets, what were you like 2 years ago when we were a joke? Like, what was it like for you then? Like, when do you get to enjoy? It can't be, I'll be happy being a Jet fan when they win the Super Bowl. Can't be. Because you're saying it right off the bat. You're saying, I'm not going to enjoy the whole process of building the team to become a Super Bowl champion. And all the fun is in that. Like, to me, the best part, I'm sure for a lot of you, the best part about the Jets winning a Super Bowl when it happens, I'm going to say when. I'm a big believer that it will happen at some point. Not saying when, but not saying exactly when, but when the Jets win a Super Bowl, we'll look back and say the best part of that Super Bowl will have been the process. Watching them build, watching them go from this torn up roster in 2021 and slowly evolve and develop into a Super Bowl champion. That'll be the best part, that we were here the whole time, that we never stopped believing. So, do we fire JD? No.
Hey,
Hey,
I see Wyatt in here too. You didn't bring Wyatt on.
he just got in. Just got in.
I don't believe you. I bet Wyatt's been sitting there for a half hour.
No.
I want to thank Jeremy for holding down the fort. Not only was I on the road, fucking Gunny's in a storm, right?
Crazy.
What a crazy, crazy night for you, Jeremy. So I appreciate it. Thank you. Everybody, green hearts and claps for Jeremy. Jets chaos. Oh, Wyatt with the heart. Hold on, Wyatt. Do that again.
I love that. I love that. And that's a man who serves
again,
our
Wyatt.
country.
Yeah, look at that. Look at Wyatt. So you guys might remember Wyatt. All right, fire me, Patty Grimes says. You might remember Wyatt. Wyatt was on our show a while back. He's the Marine. He's in the Marine barracks right now. Are you not, Mr. Wyatt?
I am, but you're going to get me murdered.
No. There's nobody here that's with you. You're
Yeah,
safe here.
Yeah, I'm in the barracks.
So look, Jeremy was talking about JD. So we can continue there, and then we'll go into some Dalvin Cook stuff. What's up, Finnegan? I see Finnegan's here.
He's here.
Yeah, he did. Hey, Finnegan, can you grab us the Dalvin Cook comments? I want to see I want to talk a little bit about that. You didn't break into that, Jeremy, did you?
No. I waited for you. He has the links and everything
awesome.
ready for you.
Awesome. So listen, let's continue this. Now, JD, I like what you were saying. I was listening. I got behind this truck. I had to drive through some really like through a town called Goochland, Jeremy. Goochland, which my son's 9-1 high school football team, they played Goochland on Wednesday night, and Goochland's good. They're like considered the second best in the county, behind Louisa, which has produced NFL players. That Louisa has a real live lion that they bring to the game. That's their mascot. Yeah, they're serious, right? They're a whole different thing. But anyway, so they beat them like 35-6 or 13 or something like that. They killed them. So anyway, I got behind a truck. He's 55 miles an hour. He's doing 40. You know, one of those things I can't pass because of double lines, the whole thing. It's a windy road. You can't take chances. But anyway, so Wyatt, we're talking about JD. What's your overall? Are you one of the guys that thinks maybe we should fire JD? Has he not done enough? Zach Wilson's not producing. Where are you with the whole Joe Douglas thing, buddy?
Listen, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to insult your audience, but I think if you think JD needs to get fired, I think you're an idiot. I think he's the best GM in football. Well, maybe not that far, but he's really good.
Wow, I mean, Wyatt's an extremist.
Where this team would be if it weren't for the 2021 draft? Is that the one where we got Brees Hall?
Wyatt, is that taps?
It's in 5 minutes.
Okay. When we hear taps, we'll all take a moment and listen. Is that okay, Wyatt?
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, I love it.
JD,
all right, but go on.
Imagine where we'd be if it weren't for the draft where we got Sauce Gardner, Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson. He literally changed the entire team in one draft. If you want him fired, I don't know how to help you. You're just impatient, in my opinion. You need to wait a little longer. It takes a while for a GM to build an entire team. That's what he had to do.
Yeah. I like that. I'm going to turn my light on, Jeremy. I'm like, what's wrong with my face? Hold on a second. You know what I did? I turned this on. I was like, I thought I turned it on. That's not the right light. Wyatt, hold on a second, buddy. Here we go. We'll get all professional in a second here. Hold on.
I look pale. My lighting is horrible.
You look good to me, bud. You look good. Wyatt's is a good-looking fella. That's what I think, Jeremy. So here's the thing, like Jeremy was saying, and Wyatt just said, I got to tell you, whenever somebody says, I don't know if I'm allowed to insult your audience, just know insults are coming. That's what you got to know, right? No offense, but you're about to be offended.
No offense. No offense, but.
Right. That's the way that shit goes. And I see Douglas, we'll get right to you, buddy. Thank you. I'll tell you the thing with JD. I mean, look, there was a conversation, and I'd love to hear your take. There's a guy I consider him a friend on I only know him through Twitter, but he's a good dude. He's a police officer, but he's an anti Joe Douglas guy. He doesn't really like him, but he said that Joe Douglas missed on Bryce Huff because everybody and their mother knew he was coming into his own. He was an elite pass rusher last year, and he only got 30% of the snaps. If we increased his, so forth and so on, he was going to be what we all expected. And he said, so JD not locking him up last year is another classic JD miss. So, Jeremy, what do you think of that? Do you think that JD missed on Bryce Huff? Because before you answer, let me bring up the other half of that, which is we got him for. You could look at it this way: he got an elite pass rusher for $5 million, right? He put a second round tender on him, so it's not like the whole NFL knew and JD missed. Nobody offered a second round pick. Why wouldn't somebody offer a second round pick for an elite pass rusher, right? So nobody did. But then we still have the franchise tag. He's not going anywhere if we want him, and we could just extend him and pay him what he's worth. If we would have got him for $5 million last year, and he's he lights up the NFL, he's going to hold out anyway, most likely. So that's the other side, right? So what do you think? Do you think it's a JD miss? He kind of missed an opportunity to snag a guy in the similar fashion that he did Quincy Williams?
We have absolutely no idea what went on. We don't know that his agent didn't say, if you want to sign up, that his agent and Huff decided together, we're going to gamble. We're going to gamble. Like, it's a decision, right? Do we take a little bit less and give a discount now, secure a certain amount of money long term, or do we gamble that we're going to keep playing like this, keep getting the attention of the league, and get a bigger contract later? So for all we know, the agent was asking JD for $30 million a year. We don't know. We have no clue. So we don't know if JD loses his side of that gamble, because God forbid, knock on wood, Huff gets hurt. Or if Huff just stops playing as well, if he gets less pressures, if he doesn't keep developing to stop the run, or if simply other NFL GMs don't value him that highly, and we end up signing him for $23 million a year long term at the end of the year, and we still might never know that if we would have signed him now, it would have cost a lot more, and JD won that. We just don't know.
Well, and it's also important to think, Jermaine Johnson is killing it this year, right? One of our better defensive linemen. Last year, he was not even close to being one of our better defensive linemen. He wasn't bad, but who's to say if we started Huff last year, he wouldn't have been a similar situation. He might have needed that time to develop. We just don't know.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I mean, both of you, it's like, it's hard to, look, when you bet on the anomaly, right? Like when you bet on potential. Oh, everybody, taps, real live taps at a Marine barracks. Where is it?
It's coming. Did you hear it?
Oh yeah, we heard it. And now the Marines can take a breather.
It is one of the more it's weird to describe because you don't really experience anything like that in the civilian world, but it is a very relaxing thing.
Yeah. That's super cool. Thank you for being here and sharing that with us, man. That's
of course.
Cool. I'll also add, everybody, our good buddy, our Marine Wyatt, is getting accepted now to Ivy League schools. Is that okay to say?
Maybe getting accepted.
But it's the fact that you're talking about it's like, right?
I've got a really, really good chance, but it's going to be a few years. We don't want to jinx me.
All right, no jinxing. All right, that's right. I should know better, Wyatt. I'm sorry.
But I've got
Douglas,
a really good opportunity.
Yeah, and I'm excited for you. Wyatt's one of our good buds, man. We're excited for young Wyatt. Douglas McClure checking in. Thank you, buddy. He says several in our fan base will whine that we've been rebuilding for 50 years, when in reality it's been 2 to 3 years. Reboot. 2 to 3 years, reboot, and repeat. It's good to see them doing it the right way. What a great point. We call it rebuilding. Well, like McCagnon never rebuilt anything. He would go out there every year. He'd find the biggest name that he could. He'd overpay him, whether it was Le'Veon Bell, Avery Williamson, Tremaine Johnson, who was, don't forget, Tremaine Johnson was franchised twice, 2 years in a row by the Rams. So they wanted to keep him. He was one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL. He was flawed, and a lot of Jets fans didn't really want him, but he had the name. So Maccagnan went for like that big name. He took the consensus best player in the draft with Leonard Williams. He did it with, at his pick with Darren Lee. He never thought out of the box. He just he did things, and it was hard to figure out what the hell his plan was. Nobody could figure out. There was never any semblance of continuity or an actual plan with Maccagnan, right? Idzik too. It was the same thing. Remember the year with Idzik? We had no cornerbacks, and he gave the guy from Miami, what the hell was his name? A bunch of money, and then he just left in the middle of a game, and they asked Rex what happened. We don't know where he is. He just left. That's the guy, you know what I mean? So we didn't know what the hell was going on. So it wasn't real rebuilds, Wyatt, do you remember any of that? What do you think? Joe Douglas actually looked at the team for a year. We had Sam Darnold, we had Jamal Adams. He said, these are my guys. He gave them a year and said, they're not my guys. They're not the guys. Fired Gase, hired Saleh. They had their thing. And it was Sam's got to go. Jamal's got to go. Leonard was already gone. Got rid of Avery Williamson, Steve McClendon, all the old guys. Got rid of Le'Veon Bell. So what do you think about JD's rebuild?
I'm a newish fan. I've only been a fan since JD came to the Jets because I saw what he was doing with the Jets, and I was choosing a team to get behind. And I said, hey, why not support the team, which is green, my favorite color, that is also rebuilding. I can watch the team grow, right? So I think he's been doing it the right way, and we weren't even in playoff talks. We were the butt of the league 4 years ago, and now we're at least competitive, right? I mean, that's direct improvement. You can see this team getting better every single year. We had the hot start last year, but this year you can tell there's a difference. We should have beaten the Chiefs. I mean, that's insane. And we did beat the Eagles. Those are the 1 and 2 teams in the league. I mean, if you're mad at Joe Douglas, I don't know how to help you. I really don't. It's just, I really do think it's impatience. Or this thing that Jets fans do where they flip out over very little. You'll be 5 minutes into the game and the other team will get a field goal and everybody will be screaming that it's over. Have some patience.
That's
guys.
us.
I know you've all been burned horribly by a bad team for a long time, but you've got to still have patience. You don't build a championship caliber team by just throwing out the playbook every 2 years, firing everybody, and then rehiring. It takes time and it takes commitment.
Jeremy talked about it earlier. Continuity. It's something that we haven't seen here. Jeremy, what do you think of what Douglas is saying here? The reboot versus a rebuild. You think there's a big difference? Is he on to something here?
I definitely think there's a difference. To me, the difference is rebooting is when you stay competitive. I think a good example of rebooting is what Pittsburgh Steelers are doing right now. I think it's what the Seattle Seahawks have done a couple of times over the last, 12 years. It's about staying relevant, keeping a competitive team on the field, but making some, but instead of dropping everyone and rebuilding it, changing it over the course of 3 years. So for 3 years, we're not going to be a serious Super Bowl contender, but we're going to be a good team, and we're going to slowly replace pieces, each year. Whereas we stripped our team down to nothing at the end of 21.
Oh, yeah. And look what he did. He created an additional draft class worth of capital out of guys that were just, truth be told, a lot of them are garbage. Who's done anything? Leonard Williams had a good year. We got a 3rd and a 5th for Leonard Williams. He had that one good year, got himself $21 million, and he's good. He's a good player. Leonard Williams is solid. You know what I mean? But he had that one really good year for the Giants, earned himself some cash, and then went back to being Leonard Williams, right? So, all right, let's see here. Hennessy checked in. He got a good comment. How about the idiots? Now, Hennessy, not everybody's an idiot. We're just emotional. When you're using your emotions, I like to say it all the time. Emotions have no logic, right? When you're using your emotions, you push your intellect to the side. It's like every time you're angry, you go, fuck that, and you throw a chair. But while the chair's in the air, you're like, yeah, that's going to be bad. I shouldn't have did that, right? As soon as
I can call fans idiots. Only me.
But the point is good. So think any GM would have taken Sauce and Garrett. Meanwhile, they were both the second wide receiver in card. That's the great point. When they won Rookie of the Year, what was the prevailing comment from other people's fans? Oh, it's real easy to pick Rookies of the Year when you're picking 4th and 10th. It's like, oh, yeah? Well, they were the second. So there was a cornerback taken before Sauce and a wide receiver taken before Garrett Wilson. So it's not as easy as you think, everybody.
And we were all arguing between ourselves who to take. It's not like there was a clear choice.
Oh, I didn't want Sauce.
I
wouldn't have taken the cornerback.
The Giants took Evan Neal.
Well, they took Thibodeau,
Right,
and right after us, I believe, and then they took Evan Neal. Yeah.
Before
So a lot of Jets fans wanted, look, we could have justified anything. My whole thing that year was, this is finally take an elite edge rusher, please. We just never do it. And when we took Sauce and Garrett, I couldn't believe that we weren't taking. Remember, I loved Garrett Wilson. I really liked Garrett Wilson, but I thought, like, again, my draft would have been probably Thibodeau or Karlaftis. I loved Karlaftis too. I would have taken probably Thibodeau, though. I would have taken Thibodeau. I would have taken Kyle Hamilton, and I would have taken Pickens with my 2nd round pick, which is a wide receiver. He's on the Steelers he's fantastic.
He's doing great. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, my draft, but obviously I prefer Sauce and Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson, I mean, right next to Quinnen is my favorite Jet, man. That guy is special. You know what I mean? It's more than just his ability. It's who he is. You know what I mean? Like, I love him. You know what I mean?
I remember the moment that happened, that you saw Garrett Wilson a different way, because I was with you online during one of those games when his helmet came off and he kept running, he kept playing with his helmet off, and then he was angry walking to the sideline. And you said, "Oh my God, that's a man."
That's a man. Yeah. And then when he in the Cleveland game, like, he jumped up and caught a ball, and he was like horizontal, and they pushed him out of, and he landed like on his back, and he, like, he was hurt, whatever. And, like, generally speaking, for the Jets, that he's out for at least 5 games. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it is. And we thought we lost him, and he was back like 2 plays later. He's like, and he actually shooed the trainer away. Like, get out of here. I'm fine. He said, I've lost my breath. Like, get away from me. And he was back in, caught 2 touchdowns, won the game. And don't forget, he's from Ohio, played at Ohio State. He's in Cleveland. Those people, by and large, have been rooting for him for years. And he ran right up to the fans, right up to a kid, and said, "Fuck you." You know what I mean? Like, that's what's up. That's the guy I want on my team. You know what I mean? And again, like, my draft would have been fine, but I prefer what they did. I don't get to interview these guys and everything. So it was, but look, Hennessy's point is solid, man. It doesn't matter when you pick. I mean, look, Zach Wilson was a 2nd overall pick. Jamal Adams was a 6th overall pick. Granted, he was an all-pro. But I mean, look, Leonard Williams was the 6th overall. I mean, we've done it for years and years and years and years. We don't get rookies of the year. We've never had an offensive rookie of the year. Never, ever.
Before Joe Douglas, the Jets were one of the worst teams in the leagues at drafting for like 10 years. And then it's also important to remember, it's not just drafts that GMs do. Joe Douglas has regularly fleeced teams out of picks, out of good players. Who else could have brought A-Rod here? Like, we have an all-star player that, granted, he got hurt, but that's not Joe Douglas's fault. So you got to remember, like, Joe Douglas is also the one making these trades and re-signing players. There are a lot of players that have re-signed and taken less money just to stay with the Jets. And if you don't think the GM has anything to do with that, you're insane.
Yeah, man. Like, look, it's not easy to be a GM. I still maintain, and I say this all the time, I want you guys to know this. Because Wyatt talks to me a lot. He's in the Beanbaggers. We hang out a lot. But I'm going to tell you right now, if I was the GM of the New York Jets, I'm just going to tell you this, I would have at least 3 Super Bowl rings. I'm just telling you. There's no doubt in my mind, man. I know who I would have picked the last 25 years, right, buddy? My dog agrees, right? Oh, boy.
Jeremy, do you think you would win 3 Super Bowls if you were GM, Jeremy?
we would have a lot of guys that are doing very well around the league. I'm telling you, there's players that we're screaming about. Puka Nuka being a big one. We were
Puka
picking,
Nacua.
we were picking
Yeah.
him.
But here, all right. Let me just tell you this. Here's my plan. Here's my basic plan. Okay. I devote many resources into the biggest, strongest, meanest offensive line. I don't care if I see a draft and there's 3 of them in a row that I think those are I don't care about athleticism. I don't. I want big, burly road graders. Okay. I get a big running back that has moves and speed, but I like strong running backs. All right. I don't care about shifting. I don't care. All right. I get wide receivers like Anquan Bolden, big, strong, great hands, but are, fearless, ferocious blockers. I stack it with tight ends that can block and catch. And I go 4 yards a game, 4 yards a play wins the game. 4 yards a play wins. If it breaks, great. I don't give a shit. If we break one for 90 yards, who cares? Great, fantastic. But the goal is 4 yards. That's what we do. And I got the guys. No defense in the NFL can compete with my offensive line, and they're 2 and 3 deep with big uglies.
Listen,
That's the thing. I'm just telling you. I dominate the whole NFL. They would all be trying to get big guys to compete with my offensive line. I would change the NFL back to 1962, and I'd win every damn Super Bowl. That's what I would do.
Listen, I think but not very many Jets fans agree with me. But if I was a GM, you got to hear me out now. We wouldn't win very many games. I'm just going to be honest. We're going to lose damn near every game we play. But I want to create the Jets of old, all right? I want every beautiful player we can find in the draft, and we draft them based on how good looking they are, all right? Zach Wilson is staying our quarterback, and we are going to have a team of angels, all right? And we are just going to pull in money because every woman within 3 million miles is going to fly into Jet Life Stadium and watch our games, all right?
We're not winning any games, but boy, oh boy, is that stadium packed with pretties.
We might win because of how distracted the other team is by how beautiful our team is.
You know what's funny, Wyatt? What's funny is I get it, and I'm with you, but I think the uglier the better for me. I don't want any pretty eyes. I don't want none of that shit.
Listen, my thing is the Jets have a long history of beautiful quarterbacks. We got Zach Wilson, our best quarterback in history. Joe Willie Namath was just gorgeous.
He was.
And Sanchez was he was a good-looking man. I'm just saying.
Good-looking guys.
Those are the keys to success.
Well, I'll tell you what. I want them.
With your mom.
I want them to barely be able to communicate the language. I just don't speak English. Not like they don't speak English. I mean, they're cavemen. Like, can you see the guy in front of you? Make him hurt. Push him as far backwards as you can. That's it.
I will say, I think every team needs a fullback that weighs like 320 pounds of pure muscle, and his only job is to run people over.
The funniest tandem was Gastineau and Klecko, because you had Gastineau, the pretty boy, and you had Klecko with the deformed big face.
Yeah. Dude, they were animals.
They were animals.
Animals. That's what I want. And I would do the same thing on the defense, man. Like unbelievable. I would just like Saleh and JD. I would build my defensive line, big, strong cornerbacks. I'm telling you, man. They would never be on the field because the offense would be doing 18 play drives. They would be taking 7 to 12 minutes a clip. Just rubbed 4 yards, 4 yards. Their defense by the third quarter would be covered in blood. They'd be on their third string. I'm telling you. That's the way I would do it.
They'd wear the massive pads from like 2002, like the really thick.
I don't care.
ones.
They don't even need pads. My guys they think pads are dumb. That's the guys I want. What do I need pads for? A helmet. What is that? I'll kill my skull is thicker than my helmet. Hennessy checking back in. He says also every quarterback after Lawrence in that draft sucks. Well, Hennessy, the rule is you got to give him 20 years first before you know if they suck. That's the whole thing.
Does the Bears quarterback really suck, though, or is he just surrounded by a bad team? What's his name?
Fields? No.
Yeah,
dude.
Fields does not seem that bad.
What's the kid that came? I don't know why. They brought in some no-name. What the hell was his name? Sid Barrett?
Bagent.
Yeah.
Bagent.
Yeah, Bagent. He comes in, and he looks great. Now, granted, all of a sudden, Donta Foreman's an all-pro. But dude, he got me 31 points this week in fantasy. I had no run. I'm like, Donta Foreman, it is, man. Whatever.
I did the same thing.
31 points that guy got me.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm with you though. I mean, look, I'll tell you what. I saw some comments in the chat that Trevor Lawrence is only mildly above average. I think this team with Trevor Lawrence, though, let me tell you something. If we didn't blow it and we got Trevor Lawrence, we'd be delighted. I know it. And I got hope for Zach, and I'm not going to make this into the Zach bashing or anything like that. I think, like Salah said, Zach is so close. I agree. If he can just get 50% of the red zones into TDs, dude, we got something. And he's right there because the guys are open. He's just not there. Between the 20s, this is the best Zach we've ever seen. So progress is progress. I'm going to stand on it. Come on, guys. Oh, it's 10-10 now, baby. All right. Buffalo Bills, Tampa Bay Bucks. Let's go, Bulls.
I actually had a question about Zach. This is Zach's last year on contract, right?
No. Well, yes.
So if season ends tonight, do we re-sign him?
Well, this is the year we got to make a decision on his 5th-year option. So we have him he was here 21, 22, 23. So he has one more year under contract, but this is the year that we have to make the decision at the end of this year, whether or not we want to pick up his 5th-year option. I think they probably will. I think they just can't. Look, they've committed to this guy. I mean, if he kept going like he was in the Patriots game, I think it was a wrap. But he's showing, look, he's come out of the dark. So I'm in.
Not a lot of players can do that either.
Not a lot of players. And not a lot of teams give players this kind of second life. You know what I mean? Especially quarterbacks. Douglas McClory says, to clarify, this is his previous comment, I'm saying that for years we would get impatient every 2 to 3 years, changing GMs, coaches, quarterback. 100%. I think I understood. I mean, I might have focused more on a specific GM going with McCagnon. I think your point was sound, though, Douglas. I mean, that's the thing, and you see it all the time. Jets fans, we've kind of gotten into we've expected this cycle. Like, as soon as somebody doesn't, I mean, we've talked about firing Salah 100 times. Remember, last year, up until Game 4, there was a major cry that Ulbrich is a fraud. This guy's Salah's friend, just like LaFleur. That's the only reason he has the job. He needs to go. We thought all that. Now Jeff Ulbrich is in legitimate conversations around as being a potential head coaching candidate this year. And now, granted, there's a lot of season left. We don't know what can happen. But up to this point, Ulbrich's done a fantastic job. So, I mean, look at our defense. You could say it's Salah. And I think if Ulbrich goes, my thing is I think Tony Oden's going to be looked at for defensive coordinator jobs this year. So if Ulbrich goes, we even if he stays a year, we have to let Tony Oden know you're the heir apparent, man. You're the next defensive coordinator of the New York Jets if Jeff Ulbrich goes. That's what we should do. Tony Oden's a stud, our defensive backs coach, and so I think it's going to be one of those things where we do produce coaching candidates and we start seeing our free agents leave and being able to backfill with guys that have been here 2 and 3 years. That's what you want. That's a healthy team. Development, pipelines, all that sort of stuff. You're developing coaches. You're developing, pro personnel. You're developing players. That's what you want. We never gave it a chance because of what Douglas is talking about. As soon as somebody shows a little, get them out of here, and we're flying flags and we're booing them, we're telling them their mother's ugly. And all these things that we do.
It's got to be a New York thing. That's really got to be
definitely
a New York thing.
Well, it's a New York thing for sure. They say a New York minute, right? A New York minute is now. That's what it is. There was an old country song, Wyatt. I don't know. This is way before your time. I was a kid.
Yeah, that's the kind of music I listen to.
It said, I'd make love to you in a New York minute and take my Texas time doing it. Right? That's an old song. And it's right. It speaks very clearly. I want to do it now, but once I get you, don't worry. I'm gonna take my Texas time. We're gonna have a good time. Don't worry about it. Not a 2-pump chump. All right, so let's get to Douglas McClure checking in again. He says GreenBean channeling his inner Tim the Toolman. Yeah, you know how I am.
Who is Tim the Toolman?
Tim. You don't remember? It's from what's the name of that show?
I don't remember. It was probably made before I was born.
Oh, yeah. It ended before you were born. That's Tim Allen in Home Improvement. Yeah. Remember the neighbor, Jeremy?
The neighbor we always see.
Wilson.
What
was his name? Fred?
Wilson.
Wilson.
Fred or Wilson? I thought it was Wilson.
Wilson. Oh, you're right. Wilson. Buffalo with another touchdown. Dalton Kincaid, I'm getting more points at least.
Was that the first one of the game?
No.
Has
Okay.
Kincaid started actually scoring for you?
Yeah, he gave me like 11 points last week. I think.
Because
He never
Knox-
scores for me. I trade him to you, and now he's just actually becoming.
Yeah, Wyatt gave me
because-
Dalton
because,
Kincaid.
because Knox is out. It's because of Knox being out. That's why.
right.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
I got fleeced.
You think so? Finnegan says White Cotton will be the next defensive coordinator. Oh, and he brings up something else. That's a good point, though. But look at the defensive line. I think Tony Oden's got it over White Cotton, though. Honestly, I really do.
Let's just hope Ulbrich doesn't leave.
I hope so too, but I think if it continues, he's definitely going to be in the cycle, no doubt. Whether he fails his interviews or what have you, you don't know. But hey, Finnegan brings up a good name to kind of epitomize what I'm talking about with my offensive lineman, Cody Mauch. Right? So remember Cody Mauch, everybody? Here we go. I'll show you. Just so you know, this is what every GreenBean lineman would look like, everybody. Okay. If you don't remember, we were talking about him all off season. As a matter of fact, he was at the Senior Bowl. We didn't get an interview. He was one of the hotter guys. Like, he had all the real press all over him, and he had staff with him kind of navigate. We couldn't really get to him. I had one opportunity, but he walked off the field. So let me show you guys, just to remind you, if GreenBean was the GM, every offensive lineman would look exactly like this. Right. Thing is, Cody, he's actually very smart and very funny. And it's not a prerequisite that they have to be stupid, but that's not a disqualifier either.
He looks like a Viking, like he's in charge of a bunch of Vikings. He's the top guy.
Look at this guy. Dude, he's the best. I wanted him.
He can afford teeth now. Oh my god.
That's right. That's right, man. Finnegan, can you get me the Dalvin Cook comments? I want to talk a little bit of Dalvin Cook before I go. Yeah, well, I mean, Twisted, I think so. Twisted says, I don't agree with this revolving coach door. Just because you're a good offensive coordinator at DC doesn't mean you're a good head coach. Your head coach material. Rex, for instance, great DC, lousy head coach, everyone's friend. And right, even though Rex did a fantastic job for 2.5 years, for us. I mean, fantastic. You saw it once, Mangini's team, once he kind of dismantled that, and by choice too. That's the saddest part about it. I mean, we were watching this week in the Beanbagger group. We watched the highlight reel, like 12 minutes of highlights from the 2010 Patriots game, the divisional playoff game, the can't wait game that we won. And it was like you watch these guys, like Sean Ellis was awesome in that game. Braylon Edwards was awesome in that game. Jericho Cotchery was awesome in that game. And we got rid of all of them that offseason. It's like crazy. Like you see, they were Jets too. Like, as soon as they did anything good, they did the jet. Remember the jet wings and they run around. It was like we had this energy and they chose to dismantle it and bring on Plaxico Burress and Derek Mason and all these guys. And it just eroded everything that we had. And I don't know, it's a shame. But Rex, he was a fantastic defensive coordinator as far as being a head coach. And you saw it. He had another shot in Buffalo. A couple years up there, didn't do very well, except he did beat us and knocked us out of the friggin' playoffs in 2015, which pissed me off. But yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. Look, continuity is everything, dude. You got to give these guys a chance while maintaining. Twisted's absolutely right. Just because you're a good defensive coordinator does not mean you're going to be a good head coach. But that's the pool. That's unless you're going to go sign, a guy who's been a head coach before, either successful and retired, a la Dick Vermeil or whoever. Andy Reid. Andy Reid was a great one. He was just fired. I mean, when the Eagles fired him, I wanted him so bad, but Rex was flying high at that moment. That was, I think, 2010. So it was like, we got our coach, but I was like, oh man, whoever gets this guy's getting this. That's friggin', I can't believe they fired him. And it worked out for them too. They made it and won a Super Bowl. They've gotten to another Super Bowl. They won the one with Peterson and now they're with Sirianni. So, I mean, they're doing fine, but look at the Chiefs. I mean, he changed the Chiefs. The Chiefs were not the Chiefs that they are now forever. The Chiefs hadn't won a playoff game in forever. I think, I don't know how long, but they weren't
bad.
Yeah. The Chiefs are Andy Reid's Chiefs now. So it's a shame. You know, it's a shame. Timing, man. Timing's everything. You know?
I agree with Twisted. Don't hire Olbrick. He'd be a really bad head coach. You don't want him. Don't even ask him. All right.
Well, we're
He's
not.
our defensive
Yeah,
coach.
right. Exactly. That's right. That's right. Get out of here, Ladybug. Let's see. So let me see. Finnegan's okay. Let's talk about Dalvin Cook. So you may have heard about it by now, but we'll comment on it as well. So Dalvin Cook, who is very openly, I would say, is known to be on the trading block right now. So he had some comments to say. First, we'll talk about the trade rumors, and then he comments on his limited touches. So let me open this up for everybody, and we'll get a little video thing going here. We got this on Boy Green's channel, on Boy Green's Twitter, I should say. So let's hold on a second. Let me get the sound up for you guys, make sure it's all good. And so this is Dalvin Cook being asked about his this is the trade rumors.
I think that talk, I sit down with JD and all the guys that make it best for everybody. But that's something that I have to sit down and talk to JD about. What, like for me, I let the business, I have the business side, and like for me, I be ready, man. Like I go to every day I go out there, I bust my ass, I do the things I do, be ready when my number call.
See, Samini, he just answered the question, but Samini didn't like it. He wants more juice, so he's going to squeeze the lemon a little bit here. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, it's a different scenario for me. Like I said, it's all different for me. But it's something I can't control. That my name being floated around in trade rooms might be a good thing, might be a bad thing. You never know.
All right, so might be a good thing, might be a bad thing. Wyatt, what do you think of that?
There's nothing wrong with what he said. I mean, he's not getting any touches. I think it's a good thing he's not getting any touches. He seems slow. I mean, he doesn't seem like a bad guy, and I don't think there's anything wrong with what he said. If I were him, I'd be frustrated too. I agree. It may be a good thing. It may be a bad thing. I don't know. I agree with him. I don't think there's anything wrong with what he said.
What about you, Jeremy? You think there's anything wrong there? You like what he said? You let the business side handle the business side and all that jazz?
I wasn't offended by that. I wasn't offended by that at all. I agree with Wyatt. I think that he doesn't have a prominent role. Breece Hall recovered faster than anybody could have imagined. So I think it's okay for him to say, could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. It's a total sensible thing to say, because maybe he goes to a place where, he gets more carries. They start there, and they're also a playoff team. And that's the point of career he's at right now. He's just a guy at the part of his career. Running backs don't have a long time. He wants to win a championship. He thought he was coming to join Aaron Rodgers. He thought he was going to get a little bit more, have more of a role. It didn't work out. If he ends up in a team where he can get more of a role and they have a chance at a championship, that would be an example of a good thing for him. And if they don't, and he goes to a crappy team and he doesn't get a large role, that could be a bad thing. So I have no problem with it.
All right. Well, let's see what he said about the touches. And I'm putting a poll up there. Let's wait till you hear the next clip before you if you already heard it, you can answer the poll. But wait and see what the clip says. Okay, this is Dalvin Cook being asked about his role with the New York Jets. What do you think about the fact that his touches are actually going down, everybody? Again, I want to thank our good buddy Boy Green, Paul Esden Jr. We're using his Twitter page right now. Thank you, Finnegan. Let's see it. The volume up. There it is. Okay, here we go.
Touches I get, I think I get what I need to get. For me, if you watch my career, you know the type of back I am. I get better and better as the game goes. More touches, filling the defense out. Just the more touches I get, the better I get as the game goes. So still kind of adjusting to that, but with the carries I get, I do what I can. I try to be explosive, situational. I try to do what the team needed to be done. And so yeah.
Here comes Samini. Do you feel like you're the same back? Look at Samini, man. That guy's something else. Here we go.
Yeah, what's different? That's it.
The leading questions.
Gotta be- gotta get- your average would be down. You leave a game with 3 carries.
See, he got him. He got him to say it.
Yeah, it is. Something that I'm adjusting to. But I was raised up, man. I don't run from situations. I bow up and I just get better, man. Like I said, I'm sharpening my iron every day. You know, whenever them carries come my way, I'm gonna be ready to explode and be ready to beat that one. Like I'm me, man. Like I ain't. When the time comes, I'm gonna be me and I'm gonna be ready to go.
You said you have to talk to your agent. Have you had those thoughts? Like while, even over the bye, have you had those thoughts that maybe somewhere else would be better?
You never know. Like I don't have those talks. Like for me, I think that's like kind of clouding the mind. I think situations kind of. I always let situations pan out how they're going to pan out, regardless if it's going whatever's going to happen. It's going to happen. It was already written. That's just how I think about it. But like for me, like I'm not going to JD office and tell them I want to be somewhere else or anything like that. I'm just sharpening my iron, ready to go, and I'm gonna let the business side handle that. Like I think when a player gets into the business side, I think it kind of dictates how you go about your day every day. And for me, I wake up with a great mindset every day of coming in here and getting better and how to win a football game.
I like it. I tell you, I'm going to shoot real straight. I don't think he's saying anything wrong. Now they did get him. They did get a sound clip. They got it. Samini got it. Of course, your average is going to be down if you leave the game with 3 carries. Oh, now that'll go out, right? And we'll react and say, "Screw him, get him out of here."
He's such a scumbag.
He knows what he's doing, man. Look, that's his job, right? So, like, I feel I don't particularly like Rich Samini. I've made my my feelings known very, very clearly. But you got to give it to him if that's the goal. And I know the Jets have done a pretty good job of prepping their players. We heard about that about maybe it was the beginning of last year, maybe 2 years ago. The Jets actually prep their players before interviews for the New York media, especially when they just get here and everything, younger guys in particular. So they let them know, like, dude, they're trying to get you to say the thing. They only need one sentence. Like, remember poor Zach Wilson last year? I think it was after the Detroit game. It was after a game that it was raining. Maybe it was the Patriots. I forget. But they asked him the same question 4 times about, do you think you let the team down or whatever, all that kind of shit. And then he was like, well, blah, blah. He answered it. He was politically correct. He kind of danced. He did the quarterback speak. And then at the very end of the interview, they just kept asking it in a different angle. And they said, do you think you let the team down? He said, no, and walked away. He's like, I'm sick of you guys. And he walked away. They took that 3 seconds and they made it into a thing that still lives today.
Well, and you know what? That drove me nuts because I watched that whole interview and I didn't even think anything of it at the time. I didn't think anything he said was that bad. But when you take that small clip,
that's right.
Everybody blows up. It's just like politics. One small thing, is what everyone focuses and cares about.
Right. That's it. It's a big nothing burger, but there's one sentence. That's all they need. And you know it. When they get it, they go, oh, yum, 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 yum. That's what they do, man. That's their whole gig. Like just a guy is saying, Mr. Jagaroon. Maybe he's a Jag lawyer. Wyatt, who knows? Gotcha journalism. So that's what we're talking about, man. That's what we're talking about. Todd Blows blew it before the half here. He needed to score. He needed to get a field goal or something. That's okay. At least it was 10-0, and now at halftime it's 17-10. So not terrible. They're in it, which is nice to see. So, I didn't want to see a blowout tonight, and I just want them to have a chance to beat the Bills. If they beat the Bills, everybody, because let's be real, the Giants should have beat the Bills. That whole thing with Tyrod Taylor before the half was hilarious. And then the non-call on that pass interference in the end zone at the end of the game was ridiculous, in my opinion. So, I mean, we've seen bad call after bad call, obviously against us as well. But it sucks to see your division rival win a game on a bad call. I hate it. You know what I mean? So anyway, 17-10 at the half for the Bills and the Bucks. I'd love to see the Bucks get a victory tonight, man. That would make me so happy.
See, my problem is Josh Allen's my starting quarterback on my fantasy team. So I want him to lose, but I also want Josh Allen to put up like 38 points. So, like, I'm kind of torn here.
Yeah, that's why I'll tell you, that's my big problem with fantasy. It's like I got a guy on my team, he's playing the Jet, and I'm like, I kind of want him to do well. Fuck that. I can't. I'm too much of a fan. You know what I mean? Like, that's the whole thing. Like, even betting, like, I always had issues with betting, even though I'm a gambling addict, but my gambling wasn't betting. Like, I would bet on games and stuff, but it was rare. I was more embarrassingly in some respects. My real problem was scratch off tickets. That was my real problem.
That is embarrassing.
It is a little bit. But I would also lose my house at a blackjack table. I mean, I've been literally thrown out of casinos for scenes I've made. I've been escorted. You know, listen to this. One night I won probably, I don't know, let's just say 10, 15 grand, right? And I decided I was hammered. They keep bringing you drinks and everything. And I decided, let me just play a couple more hands at this table. And I lost, like, if it was 15, I lost 12 of it in 5 minutes. And I was so mad at this dealer, right? I was so mad at her that I started to climb on the table. I never got on it, but I was like making a scene. And they literally walked over and very calmly put their very strong hands on each one of my arms. And they said, my last name is Serecchia. They said, Mr. Serecchia, we're going to take you to your room now. And I was like, okay. And they walked me all the way to the elevator, stayed with me in the elevator, brought me upstairs, opened my room, and said, have a good night, sir. And I was like,
they did you a favor at that point.
Well, they knew I still had $3 grand of their money in my pen. They were like, we're going to get that back tomorrow when this idiot decides to try to re-win. It's all right. It happens. But so, yeah, that's the way it was. That's why I don't gamble, everybody.
Yeah, I'm afraid if like I ever gamble on poker, I'll never stop. So I haven't started. That's why I don't gamble in sports either. I know I'm going to have a problem if I do. So.
Yeah, it's a problem. So, I mean, Jeremy, what do you think about that? The comments outside of the gotcha question, which is totally what it was, and they did get it. You know what I mean? They got I think, by and large, a little bit different interview. What'd you think about how Dalvin Cook handled the overall situation there?
I think he did really well. Think about his situation. He did really well. He was he was as reserved as he could be. And yeah, man, I think that it wasn't about the Jets or even complaining. It's like I think he answered that question as if you're challenging me whether I'm the same guy and you're judging me by my average yards per carry, and I had 3 carries. Like, I don't think that was directed as a complaint toward the Jets. I think that was looking at Rich Cimini in the face and saying, what do you mean I'm not the same back? You're going to use a 3-carry sample?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's a ridiculous sample to say that I'm not the same running back.
I'd love to see him answer it like that, though. Like, what's wrong with you? Remember, like, Michael Clemens, the way he would just, like, go. When he said, Cimini asked the question, you know what? Connor Hughes told us that it wasn't Cimini, though. So if it's not Cimini, they have the same voice. It's Dan Lieberfeld. It's one, okay. They have the same voice, but I told Connor, I don't believe you.
I don't believe you.
But I said, he's like, I was right there. I'm like, yeah, it's Cimini. But he said that he asked Michael Clemens, has anyone ever asked you to switch to offensive tackle? You know, because he was trying to insinuate that Beckham was a bust and the whole thing, and that was what was going on at the time. And Clemens just did his pause thing. You know, he kind of contemplates and he looked around and he went, no one's ever asked me to play tackle. It was so good. It's like the biggest FU. It's like without saying it, you know, I don't have that kind of control. I go, fuck, that's what I do. But, you know, Michael Clemens laughed at him. No.
Yeah.
My greatest Clemens moment when he's going for his water and someone asked another question real fast and he stopped going for the water to look and answer the question. And you got this tension in the room that like the guy asking the question was probably very frightened because he interrupted him taking a sip of water.
Yeah. Clemens is I know he's not having the best year so far, but I still like the guy. Mojo's saying that's their job. Nobody would read the paper if everything was roses and rain. I disagree. Mass murders. Now, you're right. I'll tell you what. I've had a couple journalism people tell me, like, they literally are taught in journalism school. Matt O'Leary said it, actually. He went to school, too, for this stuff. And he said the prevailing, the overall theme is if it bleeds, it leads. It's that simple. Go for the blood, go for the drama, go for the shock, because that's what's going to make your career. But it's not actually accurate. I mean, it is accurate, but if they chose, I mean, people read the paper for 100 years before it was all that, when it was just the news. Not to say drama wasn't in there, but when it was just news, we watched, we read it. It was the news. You wanted to know what's going on, and then these guys, these 4 companies bought everybody and they just control it all now. But yeah, so that's the thing. I mean, you're right, but you're wrong too, Mojo. How's that sound, buddy? What do you think of that? I don't know what's going on.
It's just like you don't need to antagonize football players to make them look bad. Like you're going after them. It's not.
Yeah, I know. I'd love to see one time where somebody just goes, "Man, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?" I'd love to see it, but they can't. Then the NFL would fine them. You know what I mean? They know. I mean, look at these fines. Like even the, I talked a little bit on this week's Jets pod, but the fines so we got a non-call. Should have been a roughing the passer on Zach Wilson. We didn't get the call. The NFL apologizes. Why did they apologize? Because they want to correct it? No, because they want to justify the $16,000 fine that they gave him. So they don't reprimand the refs publicly. They don't fine them. They don't suspend them. They don't ban them. They don't do anything. They just issue an apology, which changes nothing. And then they issue a $16,000 fine. Do you realize what that is? If I got fined $16,000, Jeremy, it changes my year. Now, granted, of course, it's relative, and you know what I mean?
Kill myself.
Fucking kill myself. 16 grand now?
That's what I get paid in a year.
But you also get room and board. You got a sweet little setup. But the point is sound, right? Right, Wyatt? It's like, I mean, this is, dude. I mean, can you believe $16,000
for
what is that? For what?
Like a penalty that's worth like 15 yards. Is that you're putting $1,000 on every penalty here? Like you're not finding everyone who fouls in a game. Why is this guy like the refs suck? And now this player is getting fined 16 grand because the ref screwed up. Like that's not even on him.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Now, it's one thing if you like took a guy out at his knees and you ruined his, he had to go on IR. So, okay, I understand it. But $16,000 for, like you said, what would have equated to a 15-yard penalty? Now, that 15-yard penalty, everybody, would have put us at 1st and goal with 46 seconds left. We would have been, I think it was on the 9-yard line. So we would have been on the 9. Not that we're, a lock from the 9-yard line. We're 1-9 in our last 10 trips inside the red zone. Jesus, these fucking lights, man.
Yeah, they're blinking. They're off.
Yeah, it's my feet. I'm kicking stuff. I'm kicking stuff. I got swingy feet. I move around a lot. I'm not sure if you picked that up on me. I'm very fidgety. I'm like, I do stuff. I'm always doing shit, man. I don't even sit still when I sleep. My wife hates me. My wife, every now and then, I'll just feel a hand on me like this. She's like, what she's saying is, stop moving. That's what she's saying.
Same thing. I get the same thing. I'll feel a hand just come on my shoulder. Calm down.
My wife will wake up every now and then and go, what's happening? I'm like, what do you mean what's happening? I moved. I turned over. What's going on? I'm probably like, I'm shaking the whole fucking, I don't know. To me, I just flipped the pillow. I don't know.
But I haven't shared a bed with oh Lord.
That's what you're looking forward to, buddy. I'll tell you what. Me and my wife, when I had a bigger home a few years ago, we had many rooms for many years, right? Like we went to the RV. It was funny because we lived in an RV for 2 years. About 9 months of that was in a 200 square foot RV, and then we expanded. We had 2 bedrooms. You know, my kids had their own bathroom in the back and a whole thing. But still, so that was like a palace to us. We felt I couldn't believe how big it was, full residential fridge and everything. But so going from there to any house, it was like a 1500 square. We were like, wow, we're running around. Everybody got their own room. Everybody disappeared. We went out there. My kids like, poo. They went to their own rooms. Goodbye. They hated it. Yeah, let's fucking see you next month. You know what I mean?
They were probably so excited to have their own rooms.
Yeah, totally.
Oh my
But
God.
the point is, I don't have like an extra. I technically have an extra guest spot, but it's not really a bedroom, so to speak. Like, but for many years we had like numerous bedrooms, and I mean, like, I don't know, 5 nights a week. Me and my wife slept apart. She was like, nope, it's good night. See ya. Have a good night. I'm like, goodbye. And because it's great. Like, why do you got to sleep with somebody? That shit's for romance. You know, it's for young lovers. We're done with that stuff, man.
So my woman is supposedly watching the stream. I don't think she's gonna make it this far. So no one tell her. But like I'm a little nervous that if I start sleeping with her, I'll never be able to sleep alone again. So
Yeah.
that's something I'm nervous about.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you something funny that happened. So I was just as you guys know, I was away for 2 days. That's why for a work thing. So I had to drive 6 hours back today. So I left at 2:30, and so that's why I was late to the show. But so when my first night in a hotel, my wife said to me, you know, the first morning after I slept in a hotel, she said, "How'd you sleep?" I never sleep well when I go to a hotel. So she said, "How'd you sleep?" I said, I don't sleep well. You know the deal. I don't sleep well away from you and the whole thing. And I said to her, "I just hope I die first." And she said,
Oh, shit.
She said, "Don't worry, you will."
My girlfriend is in fact watching the stream, and she
Oh,
did
yeah.
in fact hear me say that.
Oh, of all the time, of all the gin joints, right? Of
I
all
didn't
the
think
gin
she'd
joints.
make it this far. Oh shit.
But Jeremy, did you hear my wife? I said, "I hope I die first," and my wife said, "Don't worry, you will." See,
I
Good.
said to my
"Okay."
mother, I said to my mother after, you know, all their friends were older than them. They started passing away. And I felt bad for one of her friends. I said, I feel so bad for her husband passed, and she's still got a lot of years left that she got to be alone. And my mother looks at me and goes, "Why? I look forward to the years after your father dies."
Oh, shit. It's like, oh, I relish the day. All right. Well, listen, Jeremy's got to get out of here. And just so you guys know, just following this stream, which will be ending in about 7 minutes or so, Jeremy is going live with a Giants creator. Why don't you say a little bit about it, Jeremy?
Yeah, this guy Tommy, he's a Giants content creator. Dom C set it up, so Dom C and I are. I'm just going to ask questions and MC it, but Dom C and this guy Tommy are going to talk about and preview the game and talk about the different players and different angles and things they have to do to win the game. And I'll just be there to kind of MC it and interview them. And if you guys want to come join us, it'll be over at Jets Chaos, and it starts around 10 p.m. Eastern.
Right. So Jeremy's going to head out over there. I want to thank Jeremy again for manning the shop while I was gone. I appreciate it, man. It was almost crazy. It took us a long time to get it right.
Yeah.
Which really, I would have been here at 8:15 if it wasn't for that mess.
Right. Then we had to stop and do that.
I had to pull over on the highway. We had something about the whole channel got erased. It was crazy. But anyway, we're back. So Jeremy, thank you so much. And 10 p.m. over at Jets Chaos, we'll all head over there and watch you and Dom C interview a Giants content guy to see what their take is. Do they think this is their opportunity to beat a struggling Jets team? What do you know? Maybe.
And I'll see everybody again with you on Sunday for the game for the watch party. Looking forward to it.
That's right. Right here, 1 p.m. Thank you. Jets Chaos, everybody. So there he goes.
Later, everyone. Take care, Wyatt. Love you, Wyatt.
That's a funny thing. Twisted said, "No, I don't know. You know what's funny, Twisted? I had a waterbed for a long time, but I had one with like a fiber in it, so it felt like you were laying in jelly. It wasn't like, like you could be on one side and move and the other one wouldn't move. I used to call it the world's greatest bed. All my girlfriends at the time, because I had a lot of them at that era, They all liked it. They all liked it. Laying in jelly, Wyatt. What do you think of that? You lay in a jelly bed?
I want one of those Tempur-Pedics, man. I don't. I'm used to sleeping on cardboard because I wasn't exactly rich before coming out here. And barracks beds are not nice. I don't know if you guys know this, but they feel like laying on a slab of wood.
That's by design. That's by design. They want to toughen you up.
Well, in Marines, we sleep in the dirt, right? We don't get the nice Air Force barracks. I have had 5 different barracks since I've joined the military. I've had one with air conditioning. That's when I was in a condemned Air Force base's barracks. Like the barracks were so bad by Air Force standards, they were condemned. And they're better than any Marine barracks I have ever stayed in my entire life.
Again, he builds character, Wyatt. I'm a firm believer in that philosophy, you know.
Hey, as long as I have hot water in the shower, I'm good to go.
That's right, man. Hot water, and they say 3 hots in a cot, right? That's it. That's it. Hey, that's what you do, man. But let's see this. Wyatt, let's get your prediction for this week's game. We talked a little bit about the Giants. We talked about JD, Dalvin Cook tonight. What do you think? So 1 p.m., we play our division rivals. I know you coming from Wyoming, you don't have the same kind of vigor to beat the Giants that maybe a lot of Jets fans do, especially like myself. I was in high school when the Giants were dominating with, Carl Banks and Lawrence Taylor and all those guys. And the Giants fans, my friends in high, they were brutal to us Jets fans. But what do you think about this game? Is it a lock? Do you feel confident? Are you nervous? Where do you stand on this one? And give me your score prediction.
So I've started going by looking at what the other team thinks we're going to do before I think about what our team thinks we're going to do. And I think the Jets are very nervous about not the Jets. The Giants are very nervous about our defense. And I would be too, especially our defensive line. If I were them, I'd be very worried for our quarterback. If I had to guess, I'd say 17-0, a Jets win. I don't think they're going to score on us. I don't think our offense is going to blow anybody away either. Hopefully I'm wrong. I'm predicting at least 1 touchdown. I believe in the Jets' ability to get a touchdown this week.
There you go. 17-0 from our boy Wyatt, man. And we were able to attract a young man from Wyoming with a bright future. What do you think of that, Jets fans, huh? We're bringing on some new blood. This is impressive. And he says 17-zip New York Jets. Now, look, the Giants I think they scored 1 first-half touchdown this year. I might have that wrong.
They're just like us.
So they're, look, they've only, I think they're averaging 13 points a game or something like that. But yeah, so this is an opportunity. I want to see the Jets, Wyatt. We've been notoriously slow starters this year, and we kind of adjust and, because in the same breath, we're among the elites in second half adjustments. Obviously, we've only given up 1 touchdown in the second half this year. We shut down the Philadelphia Eagles offense with our 4th, 5th, and 6th cornerbacks to 0 points in the second half, 14 points overall. So there's a lot to be said about that. But if this Jets team can use this opportunity to come out, aggressive from the word go, shut them down. Don't look at this as a breather game. Come out as aggressive and purposeful as you can from the word go and take advantage of this opportunity, because they are a team that's kicking, scratching, clawing. They're close, right? They've been close in some games. But they're also a team that's reeling, and if you get ahead on them early and beat them up early, it might actually be one of those games that can be fun. And in the late 3rd, early 4th, you're not stressed. Imagine that. Now, I'm not overlooking them, but I'm saying I think it's an opportunity for that. 17-0. I'm not right there. I think it's more of a 24, maybe 17. But I think they're going to score. I think the Giants score 9 or maybe 10 points against us. And
I can see that.
Yeah.
I really think we underestimate our defense. We've played some really high caliber offense. That's crazy to say that we underestimate our defense, because we have the best defense in the league by most Jets fans' opinions. But I think we're better than we think we are. People keep on disagreeing with the Chicago Bears statement. We have a really, really good defense.
Yeah, indeed.
So I think they're going to struggle a lot. I'd be surprised if they make it to the red zone.
And don't forget, I think Gunny was talking about it earlier. And poor Gunny in that storm. Wish him well, everybody. His power is going in and out and everything, so he's having a hard time. So wish Gunny well tonight. But he mentioned it earlier. This team was built specifically, this defense in particular, was built specifically to take advantage of being up in games, having a lead. So we haven't been able to do that yet. Look, we obviously lost Aaron Rodgers, and that's what the team was built around. And then, you got to adjust. Zach wasn't ready, this reset thing. And I think Zach has held up well. The Patriots game being the down, the severe dip. We were all nervous. We were all kind of checked out. And he comes back in the Chiefs game, has his best game of his career, in my opinion, and has looked solid since. Between the 20s, Zach's done a great job moving the ball, keeping the defense off the field, limiting turnovers, all those things. So I think there's a lot to be said for that. And if the progress can continue with the offense, especially using this bye, we might be able to do something, man, because this defense was built to play with a lead. We have pass rushers, on deck, waiting, the McDonald's to come in and rotate and just pin their ears back, knowing they got to pass. That's when we're going to feast, and they haven't been able to do that yet, Wyatt.
Well, and like you said, it's something like our defense. I think our defense can do anything. I mean, there's not much our defense can't do. When you can beat the Eagles in a really close game without a single starting cornerback or even your secondary cornerback, that's credit to your defensive line above all, I think, and your linebackers. We have a really, really good team. Even what we thought were our weak spots have been our strengths. Like our safeties have come to play this year.
Dude, and our linebackers.
Yeah, our linebackers too. I mean, Quincy Williams, we got him way cheaper than we should have for what he's been doing. That man has been killing it.
And it motivated him. It pissed him off.
We got a discount for his brother for it too. I mean, we are really lucky.
$50 off for signing my brother. But
I will say, like,
go ahead.
I think we're going to do 17-0. But if we can score a touchdown in the first quarter, I think we're going to get like 28-0. I think our offense will show up if we can get a touchdown in the first quarter.
Well, that would be great. I'd love to see that. Now, I'll tell you this. Our linebackers were considered, especially in pass defense, were considered a major weak spot. CJ Mosley, he's getting older. We thought he might lose a step, another step. Quincy Williams, we thought was limited, especially in pass coverage. We have 2 top 10 rated linebackers. That gives us the top linebacker duo in the NFL.
And I think the top cornerback duo too.
Oh, I think so
both
too.
On the field.
Yeah, when they're both on the field. And it looks like they'll be back. They were participants in practice today. So that's a good sign. And we'll have a good time, man. So look, don't forget to join us this Sunday, 1 p.m. right here for our live reaction and watch party. We have an absolute blast in there, man. If you guys are watching the game alone or what have you, don't do it. Come hang out with us right here, 1 p.m. We'll actually be live at 12:30. We get a little chit-chat going before the game, but it's a good time. I hope you'll join us. I want to thank Wyatt for hopping on with us, man. It's good to have you here. One of the Beanbagger benefits, man. This is his second time on the show. You're a good guest, my friend, and we love having you as one of us among the group of Jets fans. So glad to have you here, and thank you, buddy. And everybody else, have a great night. We'll see you Sunday. Take care, everybody.
Have a good night, everybody.
I want to kiss you.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah! You want to run or you want to duck down? You want to duck, just go over there and get onto the bench and stay there.
You play to win the game.
My message for the fans, we're all frustrated with where we are right now.
Jets, Jets, Jets.